Right, we're now live. Yep. Okay. Right. So, where do you want me to share the comment? Do you want me just to email it to you, or how do you want me to do this, Paul? Do you want me to just should I just stick it on your channel? If I just stick it on your channel in the live chat, yeah. By the way, everyone, I've been in this situation as well, where when tech goes wrong, you feel like the world is ending. It's the worst feeling ever, because when it's live, we can't just edit it out. It's live. So anyway, I've just shared the link. If anyone wants to jump over, they can do, and I'm going to share the sharing now link with the guests. So pop over to that link, and hopefully I'll see you there, or not. Right. Okay, Paul. I'll send you a link now. Or I'll post it into that. All right, Web Squadron. See you there, guys. Right. Okay, Paul, I've just shared the link to you, okay? If you go to the group, you'll see it there. Yeah, yeah, I can. I mean, I'm joined onto my link now, so all right, I'll see you there. Bye. Yeah, by the way, if anyone right now, I've just had a few people, Mike and Proper Places, saying I don't see a link. You're not meant to see the link. You're now on the Web Squadron channel, but hopefully Paul, Mark, and Jeffrey will be joining us in a moment. We just had a bit of an issue with Paul's streaming software. I'm not sure if it was the streaming software or what's going on exactly, but we've now got Mark is popping. Seen, hey Mark, you okay?
Yep. You can hear me okay?
Cool. Yeah, your
Sweet.
sound is coming through fine. So we'll just wait for Paul and Jeffrey to jump in as well.
Cool.
By the way, we are streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube, so we're going to LinkedIn as well. So after this live chat, you're probably going to lose all of your connections. By the way, okay. Hey, Mark Zimanski, good to have you here. Charlie, no, yeah, you should be here, Charlie. It's totally fine. It's okay, but hopefully Paul and Jeffrey will be here in a moment, and then we can resume where we were before. Just want to point out, though, in case Paul didn't make it clear, yeah, we are talking about how, some people are outspoken about WordPress and all of that, but we're not here to criticize anything that anyone has said or what people think or feel. It's kind of like our inner thinkings of our minds. I'm just going to add Jeffrey as well. When Jeffrey gets into the middle of the screen, we'll see him more. At the minute, we're getting a wonderful view of his shoulder. There he is. There's Jeff. You're on screen, mate, now. We've got you.
Oh, what am I supposed to be?
Don't worry. Just going to get Paul in now as
What's
well.
going on, man? What's going on?
Pop in. Yeah. But hopefully we don't get any buffer issues or anything like that at the moment. So we're just going to, Paul's coming in a moment, and then we will resume.
Just blame everything on that. Just blame everything on that Microsoft bug. Why not?
I don't know. It's you know what, it is very unpredictable, and like I was saying to let me just swap these over a little bit there. Like I was saying to Paul just moments ago, is like, or to on Paul's channel, is that when it goes wrong and it's live, you feel like you don't know where to turn or who to blame or what's going on. It's annoying as hell. Okay, cool. So we've got everyone on. So Paul, we're back.
Yeah, you've got a heck of a lot of delay on you. So what I might do is, while I'm kind of getting things sorted out from my side of things, I might very quickly plug my internet in. I'm supposed to use the Wi-Fi, even though I've got a good signal on here. It may be causing me issues.
Yeah, I'm plugged in. I'm pretty good to go at the moment.
Right,
So
give me a
while
second.
Paul's just sorting that out, yeah, CrowdStrike, Phil says. So I'm just going to start off by telling you my thoughts about WordPress and how I know sometimes I do speak what I feel. I always try to
Yes.
make sure that I know I do that, but I always try to make sure that I am considerate and I weigh up like the pros and cons and I see both sides of the coin. Here's how I see WordPress. When it first came out, it was fantastic because it meant I didn't have to always do hard coding. And I was in the early days of coding. And I used to struggle. I used to fall over myself sometimes. And WordPress was brilliant. However, I did find myself using a lot of themes and templates because even then with WordPress, you still had to like meddle with a bit of code now and again. And I was spending about $30-40 every 2 or 3 weeks on theme forest and stuff. And it got painful. It's like, every time you went back to a developer, can we do this? They would charge you for it. And it became very expensive. And what I found with WordPress was it never really developed much. It seemed to be very stagnant. And it wasn't until we had the explosion of page builders. And when I say explosion, I mean they were like a big thing, drag and drop, We all remember what it was like when we first got our hands on stuff like PowerPoint years and years and years ago. Being able to create presentations with just dragging stuff on, it was amazing. And when we had divvies and elementals and all of these, WordPress never seemed to catch on to the fact with why are people using page builders? Why are they jumping to that more than using the classic editor? Let me just get Paul back in while he's adding into the C. So WordPress never really, it didn't evolve as much in my opinion. And even Elementor, it was the world leader at this point. Even it stagnated. If you go back 3 years ago, it was kind of plateauing, and then Bricks came on, Breakdance came on. There were all these other developers. And Elementor, in more recent times, has gone, well, you know what? We need to up our game a bit. So they've started doing things a bit more differently and new widgets. And they're not completely there with like the Bricks class system or anything. I mean, Bricks are really good with that. But Elementor is redeveloping and doing things better, and then maybe focusing on things that maybe people don't care about. But underneath all of that, WordPress still felt to me like it's like it's stuck in the past. Oh, we've just lost Paul again. Hopefully Paul will be back in a moment. It's stuck in the rut. And even though if you look at WordPress 6.6, when I read what it had, there's a reason actually I very rarely ever do WordPress latest versions come out. There's a reason I don't do that because a lot of the features they give you, they're nothing for me to get overly excited about. So some of the stuff that like WordPress has now got, like they got some stuff for grid and they've got, like patterns or whatever. I look at it and go, yeah, but I could do that anyway with other bits of kit. There's nothing to make me go, oh, wow, this is groundbreaking. This makes me want to go from, say, Bricks or Elementor back into Classic Editor or Gutenberg or anything like that. So I feel like it's evolving, but it's if you imagine Gutenberg became as good as, let's just say, Bricks, let's just say. By that point in time, Bricks will probably be 5 years ahead with other stuff. So for me, it's like, if you don't have much and again, I'm not being critical here of anyone, okay? If you don't have much capital to invest in licenses for other page builders, you will just use the classic editors and the Gutenbergs and stuff like that. You will go down that road. But if you're looking to up your game, then you're going to invest in bigger, fancier stuff. Why do some people go for Webflow? Why do, and I know that's not WordPress, but why do people go for bigger stuff? It's like video editing, right? You can either just use like the old Windows Movie Maker if you've got a 20-year-old machine, or you start to go into like funkier kit. So, and by the way, I'm really sorry if I haven't looked at any comments there, and Mark and Jeff can jump in it. But for me, it feels like I don't mean to be critical, but I just feel like you've got no excuses, in my opinion, okay? And I'm going to end by saying I worked in the NHS for 20 years, okay? The reason why the UK NHS is in a rut is because no one looks at what's happening and says, we need to do something different. They just continue chugging the same way. They don't change their ways. And I feel like if WordPress just kind of said, well, I'm not a one-man band. There's loads of us behind the scenes. We can formulate a way and start doing this stuff better and differently and whatever. And if they did that, I think maybe some of us would have a slightly different opinion of it. But right now, I don't have that. But even for a basic website, I don't have that burning urge to go, I'll do Gutenberg. But that's not me being critical. It's just, I want to do more. And if I can do more, why would I not do that? Right, I'm going to stop there because I've probably done quite... Oh, sorry, Paul's back. Sorry, Paul. I didn't see your face pop up there. All right, I've probably said quite a bit there, but anyone else want to jump in? And by the way, this is Paul's talk. So Paul, you can lead, Paul. All right.
I was going to say I can leave. I've already done that 3 times. Yeah, really? Yeah, sorry guys. I've for some reason wired everything in, and it decided, oh, actually, you don't have an internet connection, you don't have Ethernet, you don't have anything. So it's like, shit, where's all that gone? So yeah, that seems to be better now. Anyway, so you seem to be, because you were just jittery as anything. Like every other word was a pause when Imran was talking, so it's like just kind of weird. So fingers crossed that's all sorted out. So thank you, Imran, for jumping to the rescue. It's much appreciated. Yeah, so going back to what we originally were going to talk about, how much have we covered already since I've been gone?
I just gave a bit of a history lesson of how, WordPress has been around. We've got other page builders, but it feels like they've been at a very slow rate of evolution from where they were 20 years ago. And the whole 6.6, you did a video, Adam did a video saying it's like dead on arrival. And it's basically, for me, that's the problem. You have a big announcement, and then when you look at the features, you go, well, I was doing that 5, 6 years ago. What have you got now that's going to make me go, maybe I won't maybe I won't always jump to these well-known page builders. Maybe I will do a full-blown classic kind of Gutenberg website. It's like the patterns and stuff. You did a video on it and you said it was really good. And I looked at it and I couldn't get that burning passion to make me go, yeah, that's gonna. I know I could do my next project on that, and I think that's just a problem. That's just me. I'm weird.
No, I don't think it is. So to steal your live stream, the whole concept of today was about, should we, as creators, content creators, whatever you want to kind of call us politely, should we be critical of WordPress? So I kind of just want to open the floor up to comments. Anybody that's in the comment section, please do let us know if you think that people like myself, Imran, Mark, and Jeffrey should be critical of WordPress. Not just WordPress, but anything. But we're going to focus on WordPress in this particular stream. From my point of view, just because it's an open source project and therefore we don't pay for it, I don't think we should be scared to be vocal about it. We don't need to be nasty. We need to be critical, constructive, and give, if we can give ideas for solutions.
We switched their microphones off.
Good call. So that's kind of where I'm coming from today, because they say a video that was put the other day that kind of just got me thinking, are we in the right or the wrong for doing this? So, I mean, we're all in the same position here. We're all content creators. We all put content out. Some of us are possibly more outspoken than others, which is no bad thing or no good thing, kind of thing. So what are your thoughts? I mean, what are your experiences? Do you kind of find this kind of thing useful, in whatever format it is? Wow, just tons of comments just come in. What are your thoughts? You tell me.
I think just the fact that we're talking about it shows a lot of value, and it's showing that we're doing something right because there's discussions. And when we have discussions and we have different points of view, different opinions, well, this is how we learn and how we also could see things from different perspectives. For me, I know when I have a view on something, an opinion on something, it evolves, it changes because I start to learn and see other people's perspectives. And the more we talk about this and the more we bring it up, we're all passionate about WordPress. So I think just by talking about it and having a conversation, we're coming together in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all got different ways that we contribute to the conversation. But I think we should continue having these conversations because as long as we talk and that we provide solutions and that people listen, well, we're going to keep progressing and things are going to get better. We're in such a good age for WordPress. I mean, like Imran was talking about earlier, remember the theme forest days are taking over a website that some other developer built a custom theme and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Now we got, we got some really quality problems going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yep.
We do.
My opinion overall is, I'll be real direct. I think the biggest flaw we have right now is we need to be paid. So developers of WordPress, any of these contributors, they need to start throwing some real money to us. I think that's a big thing that not a lot of people talk about. Because I know Automatic, they got a lot of money, raising tons of money, like $900 million. Like, where is that going? Like, where is it? Why are people still doing free labor? That's the biggest issue I have with this whole system. I think it's as big as it can get before you have to actually start paying people. That's where I fall.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view, to be honest. And like you say, if there's only so far I think you can go when you expect free labor. And as you've already expressed, especially when there's money coming into that company, on a regular basis, I can imagine the people behind WordPress.com are being paid. Whereas, like you say, the WordPress.org, the self-hosting and so on, at the end of the day, it's fundamentally the same code. It's fundamentally doing the same job. It's just one's a hosted option and one's a do-it-yourself option. But maybe that is one of those things that would change.
Because I'm curious if you compare WordPress to like Linux, like they're paying. Like I've seen Linux skyscrapers, like they have money and they throw it to people who contribute to it. I don't know if it's anything like a WordPress where literally hundreds and hundreds of people are working on this project and not getting paid. I don't know. I mean, I can only compare it to Linux. Would probably be the biggest competitor, I would say, or competition.
Does anyone know? Because that is something that often goes around in my head. Because often when we talk about bricks, and I don't mean us, I mean generally the community, people always say there's two people, but maybe there's more than two people that work on bricks, but we only really know two names that come out. How many people work on Elementor? But then I always wonder, like WordPress, we see these lists of contributors. We see these names that have kind of jumped in or jumped out, but I don't actually know or see anywhere. Is there like a core dedicated team? So you might have contributors, but there's always this team that, there might be people that join and leave, but they are the core team.
Yeah,
that I don't know.
I mean, this is the reason why you see Elementor making a lot of progress now, because they have a lot of people on staff. I'll be honest with you, like in 2017, I was at a WordCamp. That was the Nashville WordCamp when Matt Mullenweg first announced Gutenberg. So at that point, we were on Divi. We were just transitioning over into Elementor. And I remember leaving that State of the Word. I was like, holy crap, we're going to be using Gutenberg like in a year's time. That's kind of how quick I thought WordPress was going to get to it. Here we are in 2024. And I would say Divi back in 2017 is better than Gutenberg is in 2024. Like I could say that without a doubt. Like I have a lot of opinions, so I stay away from dealing with that. I like our workflow. We just stick with Elementor because at the end of the day, we make the websites for our clients and then we train them on how to use it. So I would have a very hard time trying to train our clients how to use Gutenberg. I would have a very hard time making training videos for them. So in our use case, Elementor is the perfect fit.
Mm-hmm. Well, funnily enough, you're saying about the amount of time it's taken. Excuse me, I'm trying to copy a link a second. About the amount of time it's taken. And it's quite interesting. I was looking at an article just before I sort of come onto the failed live stream that Just has done with regards to CMS market share over the last couple of years. And if you take a look at core WordPress it is literally flatlined at the bottom in comparison to pretty much everything else. I think that says something for the uptake of, when we say WordPress core, we're talking about WordPress core, Gutenberg, and we're talking about full site editing fundamentally, where that's kind of going. If there's that little uptake in 6 years in its development, it kind of says something, doesn't it? I think as a project, I think if money was involved here, I think if people were paying and they had a board to answer to, you can't tell me that board would have turned and said, look, this is not working. We got to pull the plug and look at something else.
Well, one failure I looked up recently was, I remember Matt, I didn't get exactly when he said, but I think it was just last year. He wanted a couple thousand, FSE themes to be in the repo. I looked it up. They're about 300 now. So that's a failure. Like, I don't understand why we don't mark this as failures along the way.
Because it kind of feels like there's no one's being held accountable. There does seem like this big Band-Aid, this big sticky plaster that's put over it saying, but it's open source. And it's kind of like, but surely you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't go, we're powering 44% of the internet, but we're not accountable to anybody. It's like, well, you kind of are accountable because you want to be that most prevalent website tool out there for building websites. Well, with that comes some responsibility, like it or not. There's a responsibility there to the people that are actually putting you in that position. And if you just kind of like, or people say you should just hold your hands up and go, well, it's free. It can't work that way. There has to be some level of accountability for what you're putting out there or not putting out there or forcing into something, and it's not working very well.
You see, this comment here by Halal is actually something that has crossed my mind many times as well, in that wouldn't it be better if they just focused on, like, for instance, okay, look, we have nothing against plugins, okay, and people that develop fantastic things. I love all of them, the amount of stuff they create. And I've always felt like the fact that you have to use a plugin for custom fields. I know you can do custom fields in WordPress. I've done videos on it, but it gets messy, okay? And you can do repeaters with pure WordPress, no plugin. But again, it can get a bit messy. Yeah. You're entering into hard coding realms now, and it can get tricky later on. But I love the ACF plugin. I love all the stuff they do. But I've always felt like, why should you have to get sometimes extra plugins to do what I always feel like are basic core things of what you should have within WordPress as it is? And I always feel like if they admitted that the Gutenberg project is not really moving at the rate or the way people thought it would do, and they just made, look, admin and site enhancement plugin, right? It's a great plugin. There's so many toggles and stuff that, allow you to control your dashboard and all of that so much better. Again, why do I have to use a plugin to do that? That should be the settings. So WordPress is the platform, the foundation. If you're going to use Elementor or Divi or whatever, you can do that. But the foundations are there. You've done videos before, Paul, and it's been mentioned, like admin columns. You either have to use a bit of code or you have to use a plugin. Again, for me, these are like the basic things that should just be there within WordPress. And if they focused on that,
I think
converting images. Yeah, sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
Listen, I think you can plainly see that the rest of WordPress has been left to stagnate while all focus has been on, first of all, Gutenberg, then full site editing. And I know there's talk of like phase 3 and phase 4 and so on. But phase 1 should have been to create a cohesive environment. This was one of the criticisms I leveled at in my video, is that if you're going to make these sweeping changes and you're going to make this a fundamental part of the software, but you're going to make it look completely different and operate in a different way, and ignore just basically what I would consider 101 UI UX skills and topics and things like that. Well, surely you should have some sense. There should be somebody in that organization at whatever level that is a UI UX expert and goes, look, if we're going to do this and it's going to look this way, we have to bring the rest of it along with it. So when anybody goes in there, they're going to feel like they're in the same place. And I think FSE has taken that to a different level. And I think I highlighted it in the video that I released the other day, is that you're clicking what looks like a back button, and you're going not back to the previous features that you opened up. You're just jumping back through completely different sections. And it's like, how is that not confusing? How did somebody in that organization not go, that is a really bad experience? And if we are powering this much of the internet, we have an obligation to make it a good place to work. We can't just go, stick that bit on there and ignore that bit for now. No one will notice that for 6+ years. There has to be some accountability. There has to be some consistency. And I think the problem we've got is there is no accountability, which means that we don't have that consistency. And we are basically the guinea pigs that have to suck it up. And you can go, well, you could use something else. But again, that's not a good enough answer. People have built businesses on top of WordPress, and WordPress know that. If you turn around and said tomorrow, okay, we're going to charge you $5 per install, most businesses would go, fine. If it means that we can have a better product and we have, some comeback when things are not doing what they should do or we're not happy with them, most people would probably go, fine, no problem at all. Because it means that there's money put back into the system and everybody then ultimately would benefit.
Jeffrey, you're a bit quiet. What's your thoughts? Go for it, mate.
Even Figma, they just did another UI remake, and platforms, that's how they grow, because everything grows. You learn what is working, what's confusing, how could we make the user journey better. That's what UI and UX design is. And yeah, I mean, it's the same dashboard that I got since I started using it. And and going back to the original question, should there be criticism? And, of course, we got to be able to talk about this and call out stuff. And we got to be able to bring this awareness up. It isn't about bashing or tearing something down. It's about look at, we need to step it up. These are what we see that could drastically help us out. I mean, come on, we're in web design. This is websites. And part of websites is UI design. Personally, I would love to see refreshed UI. I would love to see something look modern. I like things that look dope. I like things that look modern. And so I'm all for it. And just I saw a few videos this last week. Paul's, yours was one of them. I saw Adam's. I heard other live streams. And, the criticism isn't about slamming. In effect, one thing I did listen to inside yours was, here is the problem. We're pointing it out, and here could be the solution. Now it's time to start listening to these solutions and applying them. And hopefully, more talks about this, could get the solution going.
I agree. This kind of leads me on to another point that was brought up as well. And we'll come back to Mark's in a minute. Sorry, Imran, I'm just kind of, I don't want to take over. Anyway, one of the other things that sort of popped up and will sort of come back, and I've heard this in the past before as well, is having conversations like this and being critical. And I'm not specifically talking about how I put, or like you just said, Jeffrey, how I've given there's problems, there's solutions. Not everybody will come in with that. Some people will just come in with just straight up, this is crap, this is whatever. But how does it affect the people who work on the actual project itself, the negative comments? And I get it. I do get that. But in the same way that any of the four of us here get negative comments and negative emails and things like that, it's part of when you put yourself in that position that you want that success. You want WordPress to be a success, and you're part of that development process in whatever format. You can't only have, this is amazing. You have to have, this isn't working, and have those conversations. And if it means that they have a conversation internally in whatever departments or whatever methods they have, Slack, GitHub, all those kinds of things, then surely that's a positive. Surely there's no difference to us doing that and getting more people to kind of feedback on our thoughts and our solutions and things. So you can see, right, okay, this isn't just one person alone saying this isn't working. This is getting hundreds of comments saying, I agree, this isn't working, this should be blah, blah, blah. You can take value away from that. And I think if everybody's just scared of saying, like, we can't put things out there because it might upset somebody, nothing will get better. Nothing will be improved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there should ever be personal attacks, and there should ever be, just being a horrible person. You can ignore those. There are people out there like that in all walks of life. But if you can't look at something, like I say, for example, the video I saw that kind of prompted this, you could go back and you could go, I'm going to attack that person or those people for saying that. But what's the point? It's better to have a conversation like this, where this leads on to more conversations to give different opinions, and we can all have part of the conversation. We can all be involved in it. Should we be sort of worried about the negative comments that we may actually put out there affecting the people behind the project? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, as long as the intention is to point out that you didn't like something because it had a negative impact, or it kind of like caused you extra work and hassle, and you would rather they had approached it a different way, and you're careful with the language or the tone you use, I think that's totally okay. We get it all the time with people saying stuff to us where they're just attacking. So there's different types of intent. There's malicious intent, or there's like
Creative, positive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like constructive criticism in a way. And I feel like half the time that's what we're doing. Most of the code snippets and CSS videos I put out there, I keep waiting for Elementor to pick up on some of them. And I keep thinking, why am I still telling people how to get rid of the extra carriage return in text editor? Why? That should have been picked up. But it hasn't been picked up yet. So what? I'll just let people know the solution. And I feel like WordPress can see that there's code snippets, there's things out there that people like. So why don't they adopt some of that? And I feel like, we're offering solutions. We're offering like another way of approaching it.
Yeah.
But I
I
feel
would
like
say,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, go on.
yeah, I was going to say, like what you just did a couple of days ago is a great example where with the latest ACF update, like shortcode stopped working. So within 15, 20 minutes, me and you had some sort of solution, and you made a video, you put it on YouTube, right? So think about if you try to do that same aspect, but through WordPress. What are you going to do? Go to their Slack, go to their GitHub, submit a ticket, wait for 14 people to review it, never get done. What we're offering to the community is like a much more direct, instant way to do things. And so that has, in my opinion, so much more value because it's not like a government. There's no bureaucracy, no red tape. We could just create stuff. So I think that's a great thing what you just did,
But what we're offering are ready-made solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So Clamp Calculator, there's codes for that. Adding WAF2 fonts directly to media library, there's code for that. Converting images into WebP, there's stuff out there. And like I said, the admin and site enhancement, why do people love it? Why has it got, 100,000 installations now?
Yeah.
It's just an interface for loads of code snippets. Toggle this on, toggle that off, whatever. And I feel like WordPress should be looking at that and going, that's got 100,000. People are loving it. The reviews are good. There's very little issues with it. Why don't we adopt that into the standard WordPress? Because I feel like, because what it will do is a bit like AI. All AI does is speed things up for us, whether it's image or content creation or doing things a bit differently. It doesn't stop us doing what we need to do, but it speeds things up. And if you knew that when you were working with a client, you could now install WordPress and you're like, I know I've got a client and they're a bit dodgy and I don't want them to remove a plugin, you could just turn a toggle on, or you could add in an extra admin column because you know it's going to help them out. If you could do that from the get-go without going, oh, Jeffrey, I know you had a code or you had a video. Where's it gone? Oh, I can't remember that. And then we start looking for plugins and stuff. And then things start to get messy, before you've even built the website. And if WordPress did that, and I do agree with what Jeff said just moments ago when he said about the UI, I don't mind the WordPress the way it looks, but if it was made sexier, I would love it even more. I just feel like it's not evolved. I'm not saying it's got to be, glass morphism effects and things flying in. I'm not saying that. But are you all right? I would love to know in the chat right now who here actually likes the screen options. You load up a brand new website, and the first thing I do on every website is get rid of all the screen options. The first thing I do.
Yep.
So yeah, it's. I don't know.
Could you pull up Nicholas's comment a second? Because I think
I think he said it. Is it this one?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's something that needs to be sort of said here, and I'm sure, like I say, I think we're probably covering this from completely different points of view, because I know, Nicholas, you are heavily involved in with Elementor, things like that, so you probably see it very different to the way that we do. But I think you need to be aware that it's so say being hopeful someone from WordPress will watch these videos, maybe not enough. Well, we could say the same thing about the 5,000 plus GitHub entries on WordPress. And as Mark's already said, you've got to wait for these to be upvoted before anybody even looks at them. There is no right or wrong way. I don't think there's any way. I think the thing you kind of have to take away from this is the fact that conversations like this now happen. And 10,000 people have watched that video of mine from the other day. Around 10,000 have watched Adam's video. Have no idea how many people will watch this today. I'm hoping, we'll have a number of people.
1 million.
1 million indeed. No. But without having conversations like this, then we're not using our platform to make people talk. And if you look at, if you've got 300 comments on my video, and God knows how many on Adam's and what we'll have on this, and the comments and things in the chat right now, the conversation starts. Whether we go onto GitHub or whether we go onto Slack doesn't mean to say that someone else won't go on there based upon the conversation that they've seen on here and realize that there's more people feel the same way that they do with their frustrations. They may think, right, now 50 people from watching these videos go, right, I'm going to go on there and say, this is the thing that annoys me with it, and this isn't working right, and we need to change this. And then those upvotes get put into place. It's not specifically our job to go on there and join Slack and join GitHub and post all the things that kind of frustrate us. Whether we do it is up to us. But I think we have to have the conversation. So where you can call it criticizing, or you can be openly providing alternatives and solutions to the things that you find are frustrating or badly done inside a platform like WordPress, or we can all just sit there quietly and hope it'll get fixed in the background with people going to GitHub, adding to that 5,000 plus sort of already requests that are on there, and God knows what on Slack. There's not one way to skin a thing that needs to be skinned. We won't go down that route. There's multiple different ways, and there's multiple different approaches. And I think you have to realize that there's value in all of these different approaches. Whether you agree or disagree with us talking about it, it's entirely up to you. But I don't think any of us are going to turn around and go, well, we're going to stop talking about it because there's a different way of doing it. So I think we have to agree to disagree on that.
Can I give you a bit of a selfish answer for why
Certainly.
I don't go onto the Slack groups or even onto GitHub even that much? The selfish answer is that, number one, what I say isn't going to be new. It's already been said, and it's not been dealt with. I do not believe for 1 second that anything I've ever said they need to improve or do has not already been put out there. And the second reason, and this is really, really selfish now, I sometimes get sick to death of the amount of notifications I have to deal with anyway all day long, all right? When we're managing Facebook groups and YouTube channels and emails and stuff, it's already like you're playing catch up all the time. And I sometimes when I did used to post on GitHub, sometimes I did it for Elementor and a few stuff, I get sick to death of notifications coming through. So from a selfish point of view, that's why I don't. But I don't believe that half the things I want or would like to see has not been said before. And if it's not actioned, I just feel like I don't want to open up another thread and another thread, kind of thing, so that's me from a selfish point of view.
There's also time, I think that's a good question too. I saw it brought up, for me, I saw the question, I heard it, and, truth is I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time to be that involved. I have businesses to run, a lot of other things. And, I'm grateful for everybody who is active, participating and part of that. And but the way I look at it is we all have different roles and different ways that we can contribute and participate in the growth of WordPress. And, if it's creating content and if it's, learning about it, spending time on it, and sharing insights, thoughts, opinions, and even critiques, well, that is just another form of contributing.
Can I just add one more thing and then get Mark's view on it as well, is that one of the differences, I think, I mean, we're just 4 right now. There's going to be loads of other people, and there were people on other chats as well. But whether we're doing it negatively or positively, but when we're criticizing WordPress or what isn't right or wrong, we're not Webflow people who will criticize WordPress. We're not from another platform who say, oh, WordPress, how dare you, not a web designer. We actually love WordPress. We use it daily, whatever, whether it's page builders or core or coding, whatever, we love it. So when we are saying that this ain't right or that ain't right, it's because we care about the community and the product. And we hope it's still here for another 40 years. I don't know if I will be, but I hope it's still here, kind of thing. So anything we say, we're not on the outside and criticizing just because whatever. We love it, So it's
To answer Mark's comment, the last comment that just came in, I think from my point of view, the answer would be yes, I would. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think
I would to an extent, but the minute they want me to start jumping on Slack and getting feedback, that's when it becomes, then I'm an employee of Automatic somehow, that's when it would become a problem. Yeah.
But you're not an employee, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with a lot of Slack groups I have found, because I have joined Slack groups for other organizations. I always find that they deviate from the topic, and it's more about happy birthday, what you're drinking, what you're eating, and quite frankly, IDGAS. Is that it? No, IDAGF, in fact.
Do you mean Dillygaff?
Yeah, that's it.
Do I look like I give a...
Yes.
A fudge. Yeah. So, okay. Nicholas, to sort of reply back to your reply, maybe promoting participation may help. Well, that's kind of what we're doing in this, saying like if people want to go off and they listen to what we're saying here and they think, I'd like to get involved. But as Mark has already highlighted, I think the channels they've got set up to become involved are less than ideal. Slack is not the best platform in the world once you start to get lots of people involved in it. And obviously the GitHub side of things, when you've got that many things in there, how many people are going to go and trawl through that to find if the thing that they're frustrated with or want to change is already in there, then upvote it, then track it. Mm-hmm. Maybe things like this, maybe has been suggested by Mark, would we be involved if you had people involved from Automatic, from WordPress, to come on to something like this, so you have an open conversation and they can put their side over and we can voice ours? Absolutely. I think if anybody would want to be involved in that from Automatic side of things, from WordPress, get in touch with any of us. We'll sort it out. We'll arrange it between ourselves and we'll make something work. I know from my point of view, I'd love to be finding out what's actually going on behind the scenes, and if we can have any potential to be able to shape that for the better for everybody else, then I think that's a good thing. We probably hear things that they don't because we're involved with the groups. We get comments and feedback on our videos, the content that we put out there. Mark's got first-hand experience with Automatic and so on. We want the best for WordPress. We want it to be the platform we would love it to be. Everybody's going to have a different take on it, so there has to be some kind of democratization or sort of uniformity there. But none of us want this to fail. And like Imran said, we're not coming in from, being a Webflow advocate or a Wix advocate or a Squarespace advocate. We're WordPress users, fundamentally. So it's in our interest to have a better product to deal with those frustrations that not just the 4 of us feel, but tens of thousands, if not millions of users feel every single day. The number of comments of different levels that I've had on that video from people that just dabble in WordPress trying to create a blog to full-blown developers that are using it every day to build sites. And they all seem to have the same frustration. So there's a uniformity between what people are struggling with when it comes to WordPress. So it's not like there's some kind of limitation based upon your user knowledge and your experience of working with the platform. I think it's more universal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Mark's just made, I have actually wondered as well, like, what this YouTube program kind of thing. I have heard, I've had the feeling for a while that they're going to dabble more into that. So yeah, if there is an opportunity for us to get more involved, I think each of us will do as much as we can. But I personally always feel, like I said, there's a lot of what we're going to say that has been said before, and often what I would like to hear. I mean, look, this even goes to Elementor. There's stuff that Jeffrey has said sometimes. You've commented on stuff, and Paul has, and other people have. But we never get told, why is it not being done? What is stopping a really basic thing from being done? And if someone said to me, because there's a risk or a danger or a negative impact that you've not even considered, I'd be like, okay, great. But now let's solve that problem. Let's remove the risk or the problem, because I feel like people are sometimes too quick to say we can't do it, we ain't got time, or whatever. And I always feel like there's always a solution.
Yeah, it's always frustrating when it's something so obvious and not difficult, and it's like right there in your face. Like, why don't we just make this little change? But exactly, we don't hear back. We don't know why it is the way it is. Why did they make that decision?
Well, I got a good example. You guys might know me from like Crockle Block. I make a lot of Crockle Block content, but I reached out to them, for a simple feature request. It was being able to bring in like the advanced query builder into like the Elementor loop grid. They got it built within 2 days. So some communities are taking more feedback than others, I would say. And it honestly was very refreshing to see that. I'm like, God damn, it probably didn't take that much time to make, So.
I totally agree with you. Like my involvement with Crockleblock, they're a great company to talk to. Forget about anything else. They're a great company to talk to. They listen. And there's been several different companies that I've sort of spoken to that I've got no involvement with, like Flowmatic, the Fluent team, and things like that. And you give feedback, and they either come back to you with that's a good idea, blah, blah, we'll look into it. So you can feel at least you've responded to my thing. Or like you say, they come back to you in a day or two's time, or sometimes even quicker than saying, yeah, that's no problem. That's actually implemented now. We'll do a hot fix and that'll be included in it. And you're like, wow. I know that this sort of scale is a different thing altogether. You've got someone that's maybe sold 10,000 versions of a plugin to someone that's sold 1 million. I know that's completely different. But to take Jeffrey's example, let's take a look at what I highlighted in my video, the typography settings between everything being hidden, and every time you reload that page or go to a different page, they're all still hidden again. Surely they can't. There's enough talent in WordPress to go, let's just put a switch in there, or at least let's make it that when someone enables those, it then stores that in the settings section, that user has enabled those functions, and then every time they go into a page, a post, whatever, those features are still there. Come on, that's got to be UI 101. But it's not there. Why? Because is nobody listening? Like you say, is anybody actually taking on board this criticism and going, that actually makes a lot of sense. How didn't we see it? Let's just do it. Surely a switch to store that information could be something to put together in 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it is a difficult one. Like you say, when you have companies you work with in whatever format, they listen and they feedback and they come back to you with any suggestions and give you updates on it. It feels unusual these days, and that's the kind of weird thing. It's not a case that's the norm, and when someone doesn't come back to you, that's weird. It's the opposite, and I think that's a little bit sad.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, and it's, I think, when we're used to something, at least for me, when I'm used to something, it's a tool I use every day in and day out. I don't recognize all those frustrations that happen. And, I've been using Elementor for years. I went and started using Bricks heavily. And I remember after like a year, just full on Bricks, going back to Elementor, the frustrations I felt because there are these UIs, these quirks, these things where I'm like, God, if they just like, this makes so much more sense than this right over here. If you were to just adjust this right here. And that's the nature of UI. There's always room to improve. And that's why, you get the testing. When you get a lot of people who aren't used to something like Gutenberg, well, we could like see things, we could see like, hey, this didn't make sense when we go through. Just like when we create videos, we get criticized. I get criticized. If something didn't make sense in a video, I did something wrong, I went too fast somewhere, I skipped a step. And, I get the feedback. It's great getting that feedback, because that feedback helps me to create, better tutorials, to teach better. We need that, we need to get that kind of feedback. But, what would that say about me if I just didn't listen? If I dismiss that, it's frustrating. I don't know. I think we all do just care about WordPress a whole lot. So I could see why we all get passionate about it, at times.
I mean, Dave Den comes up with a good comment. They say, and we always talk about, if you pull up the street, we always talk about the negative things, but we should also talk about the positives. I think there's a different way to look at it. That if we weren't positive about, let's say, WordPress in this example, Imran wouldn't have 1,000+ videos. I wouldn't have 1,000+ videos. We wouldn't be creating the content on top of this if we weren't passionate about it and we didn't think it was a positive thing. We put our reputations behind these products. And I think that's not something that people necessarily think of when they're watching the videos, but we do. We put our reputations behind it. And we're very careful, about what we talk about in a positive light, because it has impact. And whether you want to say about influencers and all this kind of, terminology is thrown about anybody that has anything on YouTube, whether we like it or not, there is a sense of influence there. And like I said, I don't think we would be behind WordPress for this long. I mean, I've been doing this nearly 9 years. Imran, you 3 years in, 2.5, 3 years in? Jeffrey, you've been doing this since you set your business up on WordPress. Well, surely that speaks volumes for the faith that we've got in the platform. And we don't need to go around necessarily patting them on the back saying, good job, guys, for building this. But when we're being critical, we're not being critical to be nasty. And I think that's the thing that people need to realize, is that, and I'm talking about the four of us here, I'm not talking about anybody outside, that's up to them. But when you're critical, you could be critical in a positive way. You could be negative and you could be destructive. But I'd like to think that whatever we talk about is a positive spin on what isn't necessarily the best solution.
Yeah, what I would say is sorry, go on. No, go for it, Mark.
No, I just wanted to say just a little bit more context too of the conversation. It's about, is it right to criticize? So I think, just the context of the whole discussion is focused in that direction. But overall, there's nothing better than WordPress. Absolutely love WordPress, everything about it. And everybody here feels the same. I'm sure everybody in the chat, I know these three guys, we love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I came from Drupal and Joomla. I've seen some of the worst CMSs out there. Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to take away, is like the only reason we're having conversations like this is because we are passionate, we do care. And I think that needs to be, recognized, because it's important. If you think we're just criticizing, just go to reaction channels. They're the ones that criticize for the sake of criticizing, because it's easy to criticize situations and things like that. But what we're trying to do is not criticize and just go, that thing is shite. It's like, okay, that could be better. And how about there's a solution? There's a different way of doing it. There's a different approach to it. I think that's, and we've done the same thing. When we've criticized Bricks, we've criticized Elementor, we've criticized WordPress, but we've also been incredibly positive about all those products when it deems that positivity. Just bear that in mind, that yes, negativity is always more fun for people to watch because people can get behind it if they feel negative about it. But it very quickly just brings everything that you do as a creator down, because all you're doing is filling the world with negative energy. Not to get too holistic or anything, but I know from our point of view, we want positivity. We want people to succeed, and we want people to succeed on top of the WordPress platform. It's why we create so much educational content on it.
I tell you the problem I've felt for quite a while now is that sometimes I speak to people and they are getting into web design, or even when I'm speaking to some clients, and when I mention WordPress, they go, oh, isn't that an old system? And when they see it, the problem is that like I will advise them. Look, again, nothing against Wix, nothing against Squarespace, okay? It's just I don't use them, and I will try and advise them of reasons why not to use it. But the trouble is when they see a video on YouTube or somewhere else, or you got, Keanu Reeves, promoting Squarespace, whatever, it looks really sexy. And that for me, sometimes it's like I'm trying to say to someone, and again, I'm not being ageist here, but I've got, a young 20-year-old, they're hip and happening, they're on board. They know more about what's going on with the music scene than I've completely lost touch with all that. They know what's going on. And then I go and show them this. And then I say, but we've got to do this, we've got to do this, and I've got to add this, and I've got to add that. And they start to go, yeah, but my friend just uses Wix. My friend just uses that. And it's like, and everything just happens. Why are you complicating it? And they don't realize we're making it better for them. But I just feel like if WordPress just took a step back and just said, okay, this is what we've got. Could we make it better for developers, for clients, for brand new users, legacy users? It's going to be better for them in the long run, because I'm sure I saw somewhere last week, I might be completely wrong, but I'm sure I read somewhere that they said that WordPress was 36%. It's gone down of the market share. I don't know where I saw it. I saw something. And I would hate it if in 10 years' time, WordPress was now, the market share was sinking. Not because I want it always to be the best. It's always good to have healthy competition. But I wouldn't want to see it to the point where like there's other things coming out there, because at some point, I mean, I think we can all be really honest here that if something came out that was much better than WordPress, and there was lots of other plugins or tools or add-ons so that, it was very rich in the infrastructure and the ecosystem, and you could do a lot of what you do now, but in a better way, more efficient, AI, whatever, I would consider it. I love WordPress. I hope I never leave WordPress. Webflow doesn't, I had a look at it, didn't really get on with it. But if something came along, would you consider it? Or would you be like, no, WordPress all the way, no matter what?
No, I think you have to consider it. I think it depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you are an agency or a solopreneur, or you're working with clients, that I've always said the same thing. You have a duty to provide them with the best solution. That isn't always WordPress, but I think you'd be daft not to look at the alternatives. It's one of the things I'm actively looking at the moment. Is looking at some of the alternative options that are out there. I don't think there's any ideal solution. You've got things like, let's take a look at Webflow, for example. It's a closed architecture. The benefits to that, you don't have to worry about updates, you don't have to worry about security, all those kinds of things are great. And if you want that for your business, then that's probably a better solution. Whereas WordPress, talk about WordPress self-hosted, you've got updates, you've got security issues, you've got all those kinds of things that you've got to deal with, which is why maintenance packages are so prevalent with agencies and individual sort of freelancers, because we've given a solution to a client that requires constant maintenance. It's like having a baby. You can't just have a baby and expect it to sit there and watch TV all day. You've got to feed it, you've got to burp it, you've got to change its nappies and so on. And WordPress is fundamentally that baby. It has to have its, I'll say for the American audience, it's diaper changed. You know what I mean? It's nappy changed kind of thing. It's like you have to baby it, and you do. Whereas other platforms are more like a teenager. They're a pain in the ass, and they'll answer you back, but you don't have to babysit them constantly. And I think that's the difference with tools like Webflow. They don't require us to babysit them, but they cost more. There's that intrinsic cost. There's limitations on what you can do. You don't have a diverse ecosystem like you do with WordPress. But like I say, for some clients, that makes more sense because they want to pay once and not have to pay you every single month contracts and all those kinds of things. Whereas some are happy to do it. And I've said the same thing for a long time. We are the ones that should be advising the client for the best solution, or at least providing them, whether we advise them or provide them. And WordPress isn't always that solution. So we should be looking at alternative options all the time.
I started off my journey as a Shopify developer before I even knew about WordPress. And so I've been in that realm for quite some time, building custom Shopify sites. And Woo is a pain. It's always been a pain. And it's just like what you said, like Paul, that a lot of clients' needs, based on their needs, what works best for them, isn't always going to be WooCommerce versus something else. And at the end of the day, we got to go with what's best for the client and their business. Luckily, most of the time it is WordPress, and I always want to steer it that way. So, we're still good in that aspect.
But keeping it inside the WordPress ecosystem, you've used Elementor, you've used Bricks, and I'm sure if it comes to a project, you'd weigh up which is the best solution for this project.
Absolutely.
For me, it's Bricks and it's like GeneratePress and GenerateBlocks. I'll look at what the client needs now and what I think they're going to need based upon my experience, conversations with them, or working experience and so on. And then you'll go, okay, well, Bricks would be the better solution, or GeneratePress would be the better solution. It's part of what we do. It's why I kind of advocate for the not restricting yourself to a single platform and going, that's all I need to know, and every client is going to be shoehorned into that solution because that's the one I'm the most comfortable with. I think we shortchange our clients if we do that.
For sure. And that's, yeah.
Oh, no, go on, Jeffrey.
No, and that's why, I always go by my philosophy of mastering one thing at a time. You master it, and we have our tools. We got our Elementor, our Bricks, our Gutenberg. We master these tools, and we find the best way we could use them for our business, for our craft, for our clients. And, once we master it, we could master another one, and then our toolbox starts to grow. And right now, I saw an earlier question. Somebody asked if WordPress doesn't change or doesn't start to evolve, what will we do? And my answer to that was just continue what I'm doing. It's good. I got a few really good tools in my toolbox. I got a few really good stacks that work really well. And who knows, maybe in 2 years' time, Gutenberg will be part of my stack. I am not anti Gutenberg because I know so many really good Gutenberg developers where that is the tool they mastered and it works for their business and their client type. And that's all we're doing. We're just, that's where I'm at with that.
I think that kind of brings an important point up. I mean, if you take a look at like Brian Cordes, for example, who is a really knowledgeable guy when it comes to working with core WordPress and so on. And if you watch the sort of speed build he did with Mark and that a little while, I think it was Mark, and that maybe with Jamie, I can't remember which one it was. They did a little while back. It was interesting to see that what he was doing, how he was building up using the JSON files and so on. I would say, not to be horrible, is probably beyond 75, 80% of most WordPress users. And I think that's an intrinsic problem with where WordPress is at the moment. If you want to go beyond those sort of using Gutenberg and full site editing to do more intermediate things, you're back in code. Mm-hmm. And I think this is probably the reason why most of us prefer to use tools like Bricks, Elementor, or any of those, which kind of leads me on to a point that I wanted to sort of talk about, is that I think we are sort of abstracted away from WordPress core to a certain extent because we put Bricks or Elementor or even if you go down like GenerateBlocks, we're putting those on top to give us a more user-friendly layer to be able to build that gives us more control. And I think this is one of the problems you've got with WordPress and the disconnect, I think, between people that are core users and those that are working with tools like, GreenShift, GenerateBlocks, Bricks, Elementor, and so on. We literally just use WordPress for its CMS functionality and base, and then we put our tools on top of it. So this is the kind of icing that we put on that cake. And I think this is a thing that there is a disconnect, and I don't think core or full site editing or any of those kinds of tools right now give us the level of control that we need. I think it's still stuck in that we want to be there for bloggers so you can create more rich content, but we also want to have full site editing. And there's some comments sort of raised saying, like, but you're comparing a page builder with core. Well, once they brought full site editing into it, they kind of made themselves into a page builder, because a page builder allows you to create templates, create content and page structures fundamentally. Well, surely full site editing in Gutenberg allows you to create templates, content. Do you know what I mean? So there's going to be a natural parallel, I think, drawn between the two of them now because of full site editing, making it more like a page builder. So what are your thoughts on that? About this sort of abstraction from WordPress core and also full site editing, or making it more like a page builder, just not a particularly good one.
It's kind of on the topic. To me, what's weird, I'm OG. I've been a web designer since the mid '90s, so I've been through it all. It's becoming more difficult in a lot of ways because now you load up these page builders and now you have to choose between CSS Grid or Flexbox. It's damn confusing now. Even for me, I'm like, do I lay it out this way or that way? So in a weird way, it's getting more complicated and harder even for us, I would say, as an agency. And then you have to try to make it user friendly for the customers or the clients. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a difficult one. I mean, Jeffrey, how are you finding it? Because you were, out of all of us, you're probably the newest to WordPress. So how are you finding, what we're talking about here, the sort of the abstraction from WordPress core and WordPress core with the full site editing and the need to get into sort of coding if you want to take it, expand it beyond the basics that core actually gives us?
Well, friends that I have and know personally that are, their main tool is Gutenberg core. They are building very complex sites for very sensitive industries. And their reasons for going into core is because they are building some high level sites. So they're building something that they're charging a whole lot of money for. And, if I got a particular client that came to me that needed something of a high level like that needed something very sensitive, I would have to weigh out, what do I want to use for that? Do I want to use, bricks, or would I use something like core and then throw in a theme like Blocksy or Generate or Cadence, to give me some more functionality? After also seeing Brian Cord's that video, it was great. I loved it. I got to see another insight to it. It was awesome. And I saw the same thing. It is something that, it takes a more advanced developer to build. And it sort of reminded me of back when I started, and, you would build custom themes for more high level and sensitive projects. Now the whole thing with full site editing and that, I'm lost. I go back there, I'm lost. And like I wanted to get into it, and I bought the tools and stuff. And the thing is, like, I can only really learn one thing at a time, like really get in. I can't learn multiple things. And, when I was starting to get into it, I also started to get into bricks. And, at that time, I just felt, look, at bricks is polished. And one thing I really liked about it in its early days is Thomas, he basically listened to everybody and just did what everybody was asking. It's like, we really would like this. Okay, done. And like, seeing that rapid growth, like, oh, dude, he's giving us what we want, So I went in really hard with that, but still, I do have it on my to-do list. We'll see when it comes
Wait
up.
on the bottom. Wait on the bottom.
I get confused, man. I remember they added the option for a pop-up image in the blog post, and now it's like gone. And I'm like trying to go through, a change log. Like, wait, what happened to that? And yeah.
Have a look at the three dots somewhere. It'll be hidden away there somewhere.
That's how I am, Jeffrey. What I do is every 6 months I fire up a whole new website and I try to start Gutenberg all from scratch again. And I go about half an hour in. I'm like, nope, not doing this. Because, once you have bricks and Elementor, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I can't do what I want to do.
And that's because we mastered the tools. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. I'm the same. I'm always like wanting to give Gutenberg a go. I really do. Because like when Paul first got me into looking into bricks, I remember Gutenberg got mentioned a lot as well. And I've really tried every now and again. I just, like Mark said, I fire it up, go in, watch a few videos from Kyle or other people. So I'm on board and I'm up to date with the latest developments. And when I just go in and I start to go, oh, this is taking too long. Or I put in an image and I go, oh, I can't. Something so basic, and then... So, it's and that's the frustrating thing. All right. The world has moved so much in the last 2 years. The last 2 years with AI and everything has been so, you know, I mean, God, every day I must be doing about 20 different chat GPT prompts. 2 years ago, we didn't be doing that because we didn't have the tools. So when you know there is a solution for you to get things done quicker, why would you not go for that if the job needs it? So if anyone watching this has felt like we are being overcritical or whatever, it's not. We just want to give positive advice about how you can make things better. And what we're basically saying is listen to not just us, but to everyone else, the audience, the people, because I don't feel like there is like a central platform or a group anywhere that works with the WordPress core team that says, Mark suggested X and we're looking into it. And this is what we might do with it. But we have to make sure we do all of this other stuff as well. Otherwise, this won't work. We don't have that. All we have is, what about this? What about that? What about that? And then you get an update and we get told, thank you to the contributors. And I say credit to the contributors. But then they go and give you something and you just sit there and go, was that really the number one thing? And I don't mean to criticize Elementor, but come on, 2 years ago when we got the notes feature, I think nearly everyone was like, who asked for that? How did that become like what? There's loads of other stuff we want. Where's the taxonomy filter? Where's the loop grid? Where's all this stuff like? So
Just a good point. Sorry, Taylor sort of pulled this up. Using Gutenberg requires a mindset shift. You can't go into building with Gutenberg like it's Webflow or Bricks. And I think there's the fundamental flaw, is that instead of thinking, instead of thinking what we need to do is make this as familiar as possible to increase adoption, or we can make it totally alien to most people and make it a different way of working, and then go, right, now you're all used to working this way, now work that way. And if you want adoption, surely the most common, logical thing to do would be, let's make it as familiar and as comfortable as possible, and that way we will get the biggest uptick. Even if once you go beyond those basics, there's more to it, there's more nuances there. And like we said, looking at Brian Cordes, for example, it really does come across as nobody's beans when it comes to working with more advanced ways of working with Gutenberg and Core. If the whole concept of WordPress is kind of fundamentally be to democratize the ability to create content and publish, when you make things more complicated, doesn't that kind of flip the narrative on its head and make it the total opposite to what you're trying to achieve? Surely you make things easier, not more difficult, if you want maximum adoption. Am I kind of crazy?
No, you're not. And by the way, though, I do have to shoot off in 2 minutes, everyone. So no matter how, I think we could stand here and stay here for ages. And I think Jeffrey needs to get to sleep as well. But I can tell you now that if WordPress took on board some of the little things that they could do to make it better, I can guarantee you that all of us or some of us will be doing videos about it. And we won't be going, oh, I told you so. They did this because we told them. No, we'd be showcasing how WordPress is still current in today's climate and market, how it's better for you now, how you don't have to use this other plugin. And we're not criticizing plugins, but, you know, keep it lean and mean kind of thing. So we will, you know, so.
But the last time I got excited about anything to do with Gutenberg was when the Ollie theme came out originally. The free version, because it was the first time I'd actually seen a full-site editing theme that I thought, yeah, I could get on board with this. Some great designs there. It looks clean and well set up. And then I kind of got into full-site editing, and I was like, yeah, I've got a clue what the hell I'm doing again.
I was the same.
SOL, should have looked like, do you know what I mean? But so.
Okay, I'm gonna say like final words from. I'm gonna stay quiet now, but final words from anyone. You don't have to, but any final words from anyone about today's topic. I don't know how many dislikes we've got yet because I'm on the live stream bit, but I reckon we probably broke the record. We must have broken a record.
Let's put a formal request out. Let's get Matt Mullenweg on here. Let's try to get him on here. Come on, Matt.
Get your cards out. Let's have a look.
Yeah, and it's not like. And by the way, if anyone from WordPress does want to join, you know, and we are going to have future live chats with us and probably others as well. You know, it's not, we're not ganging up on anyone. We just want to have that open discussion about what's the trajectory, or why have why have you not considered this kind of thing, maybe, or maybe are we just pathetic? And tell us if we're pathetic for like worrying about it. If they can show us that 99% don't give two shits about anything we've said right now, tell us. And then we will probably shut up or whatever and realize that, we're just being noisy for no good reason. But let us know.
We have to make the noise. We have to make the noise.
We have to.
But just to pick up on one thing you said before we do wrap up, for everybody that's watching, this format that we're doing today with the four of us, and possibly, more or less, is something that we are going to be doing on a regular basis. We're going to be having once a month, we're going to be having an open conversation with ourselves, and we're going to talk about the positives, the negatives, the things that have happened in WordPress over the last month. So this is a format that you're going to be seeing more often. Like I say, we're going to be aiming to do this like the last day of the month. I mean, it might be a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Actually, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We're still figuring that out. But this is a format that we're looking to explore in a lot more detail. So hopefully you've enjoyed what we've done today. Thank you to Imran for sorting the stream out. I think I'm going to be getting EV Mux myself again. And I think it's been an interesting conversation.
Yes, sorry, I was just checking why I'm out of focus all of a sudden. I think it's because I was moving my finger a little bit too much, or maybe it was my Pepsi Max bottle. It's gone and centered onto that, I think. But yeah, so thanks to Jeff, thanks to Jeff, thanks to Mark, thanks to Paul, and hopefully Paul gets that issue sorted out. And I'm glad for everyone that jumped over, and if you didn't, you missed out. But I don't even know why I'm saying it, because if you missed out, you won't even hear me say you missed out. So I've just created a paradox, I think. Anyway, look, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone, mainly because my dad's coming over and I now have to go and tidy up the house because I don't want him to see how messy the kitchen is. It's full of pot noodle bottles and containers everywhere. All right, take care, everyone. Catch you all soon. Bye.
Okay, guys.
Bye.